So it's been a little bit since I've done 2 videos in a day, but today is feeling like a 2 video kind of day. So here we are. God, went chaotic and stupid at the house, so I had to get away from it and come skate. And I'm realizing, I watched something yesterday that was talking about, I think Abundance Alchemist said it, something about you'll find you're turning into old defense mechanisms just to find they don't work. And I feel like that's kind of a bit of what's going on in my life. Namely stress eating, yes. And as I've been skating here, I think I'm about 3 miles in right now. I realized, when everything was going to hell in the house, I grabbed a couple donuts first off. So I'm kind of surprised I haven't puked yet. Although feeling surprisingly well in spite of that. Forgot how much it helps to channel the anger out of my system with this whole skating thing. I already feel immensely better than I did when I came over here. I put on music and then start skating and just kind of process through things, and a lot of it feels like I'm connecting with like soul family kind of connections, because this family definitely ain't that. Fucking nightmare. So it was like, as I kind of process through things, and of course partly with, pause it here in a second because there's a lady walking her dog and he likes to be in my business. I had to stop to pet him first time around because when they started walking, we ended up passing each other, and she didn't realize I was coming until I was already right there, and her dog was saying hi to me. So I'm going to pause this real quick. Okay, so she got picked up, so that works. What was I talking about? The chaos of the house. The listening to music helps connect with these energies at other levels and clear some of the chaos and aggravation out of my system, which is always a help. So today's drama, round 2 of the drama, it does appear like my mom was scammed on the puppy. So that added a whole complicated level. When Friday was going as it was, I kind of felt like it sounded sketchy. And I mentioned that, which was part of why she pushed on canceling it after my dad was bitching at her about it. And then she continued to talk to the person and bought into their bullshit the rest of the weekend. So, when she was up at 2 o'clock in the morning and all that bullshit, I don't know. And honestly, that's, I think, the 4th time they've been scammed since I've been back. And at least twice I kind of stopped my dad before he continued on with what he was doing. And that one was especially stupid because 3 times my mom got into something where her computer had this blue screen pop up and said it was locked and all this crap, and you have to call this number with Microsoft, except for it's not actually the Microsoft number. And then somebody's there to get all your info, or help you out by getting into your computer, and they need access to it, and blah blah blah. So actually, I think every time I caught them, and stopped them on it. The first time when they told me what was happening, it was like, whoa, 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 whoa. And the first thing I did was contact two of my longtime guy friends that are into computers and do anything with them, and told them what was going on, and they're like, yeah, that's a scam. So finally got my parents talked out of it, and they told us what to do to get it fixed. And of course, the one guy's got a computer business, so he ended up taking it to get all the shit that they'd put into it off of it. But then it happened 2 more times. Exact same shit. It's like, how are you guys not learning from this? You know, and then there was another one that was this really nice looking picture of a picture of a nice looking truck, and they expected they were going to get it for $1,000. Yeah, no. So they just got outed $1,000 on that one. And this one looks like $700 because they paid $200 to hold the puppy, and then $500 to get it shipped to them. And the person said they would get back to my mom with the tracking number from the shipping company, and that was the end of the conversation. So, yeah. So it's like, maybe y'all should pay attention to what you're doing a little more. You know, and Jen was the one, my sister-in-law was the one that looked into the kennel situation on the puppies, and apparently found out that, see, I thought this one looked more legit from the standpoint of the lady had a lot of pictures of the same dogs. But Jen looked it up, and apparently she had stolen them from another kennel. So, one of those. Yeah, always a hot mess. But, yeah. So there's more money, which, you know, since I've talked many times about my parents' poverty consciousness and scarcity mindset and all this stuff, it's like, it's not really surprising that they're falling prey to these things that's literally just taking money away from them. That was fun. Oh, good times. Didn't break my phone. I need to blow my nose though. Okay, so that was fun. I tripped on a rock. Always a good time. But yeah, it's just, I mean, the obsession with you have to hang on to everything because there's never enough to go around, but then you're falling prey to these things that literally exist just to steal your money. So, yeah. I don't know. Kind of. Bit it. Hopefully that didn't get the big bunch of snot that was hanging out of my nose when I hit the pavement. Oh, fun times. Anyway, you know what? If it did, fuck it. Who even cares? I find, first off, that's the easiest way for the universe to humble me, I think. Because I've had times where it's like, get kind of cocky because I'm skating so fast and doing so well, but then like something in my head just like goes negative real quick, and just that quick I'm down on the ground. It's like, oh fuck. And one day I did that, and my face was like within 2 inches of the pavement, and I was just like, oh, not the lip ring. So yeah, okay, go back to the scary area. I mean, it's not really scary. I'm at 4 miles now. Oh, I think that's the route. yeah. Anyway, so I posted the earlier video. Might be time to change my wheels. I feel like this one's rattling at me, the left side. So I don't know. Anyway, which I have been threatening the wheels for a while, because the friend that I'm not friends with anymore did give me a set before she went off on me and we went our separate ways. Maybe something in the wheel. Might just go find the curb and look at my skate, because that's going to annoy me if I just keep hearing click, 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 click. Anyway, yeah, that was the deal back in January, where my friend from the roller derby stuff went off because her husband doesn't ever contribute financially in their situation. And then she was aware that it might sound like she was lumping me in there in the same category as him. For not doing enough. It's like, dude, it's like, all you would have had to say was that you were having issues with the husband and not contributing with your financial stuff. You didn't have to go and pull me into that nonsense. It kind of sounds like, okay, they're supposed to sound like that to an extent, right? But not when I'm... Did I break something? I don't think I broke anything. Here. It does that, but it's got like these spots where there's... I don't know, where they're kind of dinged up. But yeah, it just kind of sounds like that, so I think there's probably more give than there needs to be there. But I don't have the tool to fix it at the moment either, so... Oh well. On the other hand, it's not like I lost the nut for it, so... I've seen that happen to people skating at practice before. That's exciting. Get moving and then all at once they lose a wheel and it's like, oh shit. Then you gotta find the nut and the wheel and everything, and you know, there's like 20 some people skating around. Good times. Yeah. So yeah, but like that girl, it's like, I saw where it was going before she even got there, and then it arrived, and then it was like, fuck you, man. Because it's like, this entire time that I've been, God, okay, since I stopped working at the one factory job, see if I fall on my butt now. Okay, I had 2 factory jobs. The first one I quit to focus on the writing, and then that kind of fell off. But I was like maxed out my retirement, because I figured if I didn't use it, the government was going to lose it somehow, right? And I think that's a safe bet. So I went ahead and used that then. And then this time around, I was working at the other factory, and you know, of course, when I got the lip ring and the nose ring, as I've said many times, I set the intention that never again would I work in a job that asked me to be anything other than 100% who I am. Right? So then, just a few weeks later, I felt really strongly like I needed to be out of the job that I was at. It was just like nothing was sitting right, and it's time to go do the thing I'm supposed to be doing, which is good and exciting when to date this thing hasn't paid anything, which fine, you know, But at the same time, it's like, I still have the little thing with the respite care for Gracie while she's still here. And now that I don't have to make the time last through the end of the year, I can just use whatever time I actually spend with her. I can use that and not have to worry about whether I'll have enough in December, because I know I won't, because that'll be gone. Because end of May, she and her dad should be in Oklahoma with her mom. So yeah. But, I've also talked about how I'm kind of at the point, the past couple years, I've been at the point of really realizing how much I fucked myself over for various things for my family, and trying to be what they wanted me to be, and, letting my mom live vicariously through me, and not doing a goddamn thing that I wanted to, because I was doing everything she said I had to, right? So like when I went to undergrad, it was specifically because it was her biggest regret that she hadn't gone to college after high school. She chose instead to get married. I think she got married in November, graduated in December. And then had my brother the next year, and then me a couple years later, right? So she knew she always wanted to be a parent, and that was her biggest goal in life. But it was always her disappointment that she hadn't gone to college. So my brother and I weren't given a choice on that. And then that was a hot mess too, because I didn't know anything about what I wanted for my life or what I wanted to potentially do. And so I kind of bounced around, but with a few different majors, until I finally settled on a path. So I at least got out of it with a degree. My brother changed his major every semester, and then at the end of 4 years joined the Air Force without a degree. So, that was literally because we didn't have any other thought on what we wanted to do or direction. It was just because we have to do this thing, right? Sorry. Yeah, whatever. So yeah. So it's because of all that stuff, because of all the time and energy and money that I've wasted on doing things that I felt obligated to because of my parents. I don't feel bad right now with bare minimum contribution on the existence, because, as I've said many times, the purpose of my life was I was supposed to feed into the toxic family system. So, when I was catering to everything my mom needed, even after I moved back up here to get my divorce, it's like, it's still, everything I did was for her, right? And, there was always the idea that if I did anything because I wanted to, then that's selfish. And fuck that nonsense. I'm supposed to be here to figure out, to have some kind of fun in this lifetime. It's not just to be forever miserable, contrary to what my family thinks, or feels, or just is otherwise entrapped in. So yeah, my brother sent me a message a couple minutes ago when I was in that spiel, and said something about our dad, because more of the drama that I left the house after. Okay, so like quarter till 5, I got really overwhelmingly tired. I was like, man, I need to go lay down. So I did. I think I kind of dozed for about a half hour or so. And, 20 minutes. And then there's all this drama with my mom trying to get Gracie in the bathtub to help my brother out. Because he was going to have to make sure, she took a shower before bed tonight so she could be ready for school tomorrow. And my mom figured she'd just make her do it over at our house and then it would be fine, right? But I had woken up right before I heard my mom go in my bathroom, and I was like, crap, so I want to run to the bathroom before the kid goes in there because I had to pee, and also because I didn't want to go in the other bathrooms because ew, as I've said before, ew. So I go in my bathroom, and I go back in my room, and the dogs are still there. So I shut the door all but 5 inches. I left it open so the dogs could get out if they wanted to. Even though I was pretty sure they weren't going to. Taz is usually the one that kind of gets wound up, especially with Gracie over there. It's like she gets wild and then it sets him off, and then he runs around the house barking. Or even when she's not wild, if I'm in my bathroom and she happens to come down the hallway, he will stand there and bark at her the whole time and let me know that she's there. Like, dude, chill. However, you've seen him in the car, so yes, he's kind of, sometimes it's helpful, sometimes not so much. I have found that if I say, thank you, it's okay now, then sometimes he will simmer down and stop barking. So, if a delivery comes or whatever, and then he's going off and the people leave and he's still going off. It's thank him for his contribution and then he's okay. So yeah. But then my mom pops her head in my door, and I don't even know what she wanted. I don't remember what she was talking about. She just wanted to say something. Because that's how she is, and she's just kind of invading my space at this point. Because, I figured out somewhere along the line, had some kind of energetic leak, and she got her clutches back in, right? And so it's like, which was the main topic of yesterday's video, I think. Which, there again, is why I decided to skate today. But yeah, she sticks her head in the door. It's just because I have it open does not mean I want you to come talk to me. But I don't even remember what she said. She just had to come say something. And I think it's just kind of that to interrupt the peace, because that's what they do. And so Gracie gets in the tub, and Gracie just starts saying my name over and over and over again. And she call my mom in there and say, Grandma, she's not paying attention to me. My mom says, Gracie, I think she's trying to rest. And didn't stop the kid. So I think the kid is one of those energetic leak spaces, because, as I've said on here many times, I can't just shut the kid out on everything, because she's still a child, and so we have to, still be mindful of the stuff that she can't tend to on her own and all that fucking stuff, right? So, when the kid doesn't have any sort of boundaries between her and my mom, and then I have to help her with anything, it basically lets my mom back in. So it's how do I figure that one out, right? And I don't really know the answer to that one. I've talked a few times about being wound up because I don't like the idea of disconnecting from my brother, because it's been my one lifelong ally. But at the same time, I mentioned yesterday, I'm pretty confident his wife is also a bit of a narcissist, and thus the reason he won't wake up in this lifetime, especially now that he's got a kid. And he he was trying to say something the other day, just giving an example of 5 miles. Sorry, it's talking to me. 15 minutes, I've slowed down on my miles. I was at like 10 minutes on average. Since I've slowed down because I'm doing a video. Oh well. But yeah, like with my brother, it's like I have shared as much as I can with him, but it's like if I start talking to him about his wife in any kind of way, like my ex, he's not gonna like that at all. But he did have this little spiel he was going on. Okay, the thing my brother and I kind of butt heads on periodically is, in spite of the fact that a lot of what I have talked to him about, he knows is me figuring it out first, and thus sharing it with him, and then he starts to realize it as well. Every now and then he still shifts back to the he's the older brother thing, and he's supposed to have more insight on a bunch of things too. It's like, it's like whatever. We're not gonna go around and around about that either. It's like when I know he's in one of those modes, it's like there's no talking to him at that point. So we'll just say what you're gonna say, and I will probably disagree. It's not that I disagree. It's usually we're arguing the same point, but I've gone a little deeper into it. So he's at a higher surface level of understanding it, which is still a necessary part of the process. But at the same time, if he's not capable of seeing it as from a deeper perspective that I'm trying to share with him, then he's just not going to get it. So that's not trying to be a snob on the spiritual end. I'm more awakened than he is or whatever. It's just, people can only, they can only hear you as far as they've met themselves, or however that phrase goes. So it's like my entire life has been diving as deeply into myself and losing myself as deeply into myself as I have to find my way back out of, right? So kind of, yeah, we're still working on it, right? That's part of life. You don't think you're ever really done working on it, because it's part of the separation from all that is, if you will. But anyway, like we've had a few things that we've kind of not been able to, he shifts to making it feel more like an argument, and it's like, whatever, it just is what it is. Because like he was really set the other day on talking about if he and his wife were to separate, who did I think the court would put the kid with? It's like, I know how that works. I fucking been in the middle of one of those situations. I said, but just because it's always been that way does not mean it will always be that way. I said, you never know. Like, okay, all the shit that I've talked about on here with my ex, it's like, I had to help him in his situation, but the only reason I helped him was because I was helping his brother, who couldn't help that he was related to the asshat, and was the kid's favorite person. So the kid's mom set after his uncle as hard as she could, because she knew the uncle would be the reason she would never be able to get her kid away from my ex's family, right? It literally was that easy. His uncle was the favorite, so she had to attack the favorite, right? And go after him and try to ruin him and destroy his character, image, and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, so on that end, I don't feel bad about what I had to do on putting everything together against her. It's like on the ex's end, he didn't deserve that kid either. But like I said earlier, at least his vanity was going to make sure the kid stayed in one space, like with one therapist, rather than bouncing him between multiples. And as I've mentioned before, when I was leaving, one day I had to take the kid to the therapist by myself because my ex was working over. And I absolutely took the time to tell the therapist I was leaving and why. Because I knew that was going to be something that the kid was going to have to work through. And, pissed my ex off to no end. Because then the therapist is already on to his bullshit. And I think I even gave the therapist a copy of the psych eval. It's like, just so you know, this is an issue. So I was at least proud of myself on that one, since I couldn't really do a whole lot of anything else for the kid at that point. Then it was just a point of realizing that, my usefulness to my ex had been maxed out. So at that point, when he starts making the comments about how he could see himself accidentally killing somebody one day, it's like, I knew that it was very much directed at me. And, I also saw that he would have been willing to go after my dogs to get to me. And so then, when that intuitive voice says they're doing their job to protect you, it is now your job to protect them. Then it was like, that was it, we're done. But yeah, okay, back to the family drama. So today, Gracie starts saying my name over and over and over again. 36%. Okay. I was like, I wonder where my phone's at. I think it charged a little bit while I was putting the video from earlier on the computer. So, better than we were. Anyway, the kid's yelling at me. It was just annoying. And so I went into the office and took the dogs with me and shut the door. And I started playing music I want to listen to to drown her out. It kind of just was what it was at that point. But she just kept screaming because she wasn't getting her way. And that's one thing that me and my brother go around and around on. It's like, at some point, it has to be okay to tell that child no and to hold to it. They don't do that very well. Especially if they're not both there tag teaming it. But since the kid doesn't ever hear no, when I said no because she was yelling at me and being a little twerp, she just got more loud and aggravating. So I went and shut myself in the other room. Which, the frustrating part about that is, my bedroom and my office are on the one side of the hallway, but my bathroom's in the middle between the two, right? So it wouldn't have mattered where I was at. It's it would take a lot to drown around anyway. So, plus, she was flooding my bathroom. Because, of course, she had to go along with taking the shower that she didn't want to at that point in time, even though she was playing with her Barbies. And at one point, I stuck my head in the room to check on her, and she was just squirting out my mom's shampoo and conditioner and then painting it all over the wall. So that's something I'm going to have to be cautious of when I go to take a shower here in a little bit, because it'll be slick as fuck. Because she's fucking just wasting shampoo and conditioner. So that was a whole pain in the ass. Then, after she finally gets out of the tub, and she's still being a pain in the butt, when I wasn't around for it, when I came back in the room where all the chaos was going on, My brother had just taken his child outside and was getting her in the car, and there was a whole bunch of screaming and crying that I heard before they left. So apparently, my dad took it upon himself to tell the 8-year-old child that he didn't like her. And of course, she's been saying to her dad, "Papa hates me," which, again, ongoing thing. You know, I've talked extensively on here about how my dad resents me and my brother, and I think that's why, you know, he's never really give a shit about the things. You know, it's like he did what he felt he was obligated to, or what my mom otherwise pulled him in on, but he was definitely emotionally unavailable. So, yeah. But like, you know, I've talked on here many times about how, thanks to seeing him around my niece, there is no way in hell he will ever be around my kids if I have any. Because, you know, I've seen him on more than one occasion just reach up and smack her in the face just because she was there. It was like, okay. You know, and it always ends up in this big fight, and then he turns around and starts whining about everybody hates me and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just like he, you know, going back to that deal when I was freaking 8 myself and started getting bullied at school, and, you know, I just lost my great-grandfather and my favorite dog, well, my only dog at that time, you know, the one that was my protector, and rather than trying to figure out what was going on with me, he just resorted to name-calling, right? So then it's like, okay, at a time I was getting bullied by people at school, now my father's also a bully, you know, so, and then, yeah, so my dad does that shit, you know, and it's way worse now that my brother and I have set some boundaries and aren't going along with all their bullshit like we used to. Because used to, you know, we'd take the energetic / emotional hit from, you know, his just existing, and, you know, we had to turn it in on ourselves because we had nowhere to go with it, nothing to do with it, right? So it's like, you know, I talked about how I've always kind of been an open channel, so way back when, and I've only realized this back in the fall, you know, I always had stuffed animals around me, and then I got to a point where I was clearing things out of the shed, and it's like, why do I have 5 boxes of stuffed animals? That'll be an easy thing to get rid of, right? But then, as I started looking through them and pulling out some that I remembered were my favorite, it's like I just started like bawling right there on the porch. It's like I figured out that when I had nowhere to go with all the sadness, you know, all I could do was channel it into these stuffed animals. So, you know, so I mean, that makes perfect sense why you can bring something into your space and it like shifts the energy of the whole space. You know, but it's like I had nowhere to go with it as this little kid. Didn't even know what was going on with what I was doing or with what I was picking up with my family. I was just aware that everybody hated me. You know, so anyway, back to today. My father tells the 8-year-old he doesn't like her, and I was not in the room when he said that, but when my mom told me about it, the thing I immediately said was, well, lucky for him, nobody likes him either. You know, and then she's kind of like, you know, but it's like, it's not like it's a big secret at this point, because he just goes around saying all sorts of stupid shit and getting his feelings hurt when he's literally doing most of the bullying half the time, and it's like, fuck it. Ooh, 6 miles. Yeah. Anyway. apparently, I made that comment to my mom, and she said, well, that was the first thing out of his mouth. Well, everybody hates me. And then, he went and apparently left in the truck for a while. And she said, well, hopefully he doesn't wrap his truck around a tree. And it's like, the first thing through my head was, would you really care if he did? I mean, shit, I've said the other day that man's good as dead to me, because of how he continuously treats everybody, like that fucking bullying me stuff started when I was 8, and never really got better. And then I mentioned many times on here, back in the fall of 2023, when he called me a dumb bitch. But to this day, it's my fault for not wanting to be around him. Because whatever. Like he's said multiple times to my mom that I don't ever have a kind thing to say to him. And all I ever say is, at least I never called him a dumb bitch. Because fucking cry me a river if you're saying shit like that to people and then expect everybody's supposed to be nice to you because you've been a dick first. No. You're going to get out exactly what you put out. So, fuck that nonsense. And my brother. Whoa. Before then. Okay, so just with all the aggravation in the house at that point, I decided I was going to skate. It's dreary as fuck. And not even real sprinkles. It's like the windshield got like a bunch of sprinkles on it when I was on the way over here, but not enough that I had to run the wipers or anything. So it's kind of like a little mist, and it's done that several times since I've been here. It's kind of doing that a little bit now, but it's not really been anything substantial. And the pavement's not wet, so it doesn't really affect me on that end. But yeah. And going back to that bit this morning where my mom started the kid with a donut, because she knew how much Gracie likes donuts, even though she knows how much Gracie turns into hella difficult when she has donuts and no protein. This is not a new issue. This is something that we have been dealing with since we were watching her all the time. And, she was 2 having the same issue. It just took a while to figure out what the problem exactly was. But then, because she's grandma, she can just do whatever the fuck she wants, right? And if that means giving the kid a donut with no protein, but then she gets mad at the kid because the kid's acting up, and, well, I shouldn't have given you that, and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, but you still did, because you still knew that she acts this way, and you still chose to do the thing without the other thing, so it could be a problem. So, yeah. When she was all set to vent at me when I was getting ready to leave the house, and then she realized I was getting ready to leave the house. So since that was not what she intended for me to do, she went to that whole narcissistic approach of the silent treatment when you're not doing what they want you to do, and you're supposed to give a shit about that and yield to whatever bullshit she's trying to throw out, feel the weight of her disappointment. Don't give a shit. Felt the weight of that disappointment all my life. Do not care anymore. Which goes back to that point of exactly why I have not felt bad for having to live there and pay relatively little for anything with my existence at this point, because all the time I cared and, bent over backwards to try to make everything better for all of them, and did what she wanted me to so she could live vicariously through me. Like all that shit, that was never stuff I wanted to do because, just for my own sake. It's bending over backwards to drain myself of my own life to give it to somebody else that doesn't give a shit about me. No, we're done. So yeah, she found out I was going to go skate, and she got pissy and stopped what she was saying. And I said, "What?" a couple times, and she just blew it off. So it's like, all right, fuck it. I don't care. Don't care at all. I've kept talking here lately about like all this shit with my dad and how he imposes his shit into my space when I'm not going along with his temper tantrums or whatever, when I'm not cleaning up after his lazy ass. Like today, he left a wadded up napkin on the couch. What happens with trash on the couch? The dogs will shred it. Taz does, and Pepper. So one of mine and theirs. But yeah, they find it, they shred it. And I'm always the one having to clean it up. So today, when it got shredded, or when it was left there, I left it. When it got shredded, I left it. And when I walked through there, I even moved it over to the corner of the couch, so he could see it was at least together. I don't know if he was the one to pick it up or if my mom did or whatever else. But yeah, he did another one today that I hadn't really thought much about until I went back in there. So I cleaned the shit out of the middle of the floor because it was primarily mine, right? And when we were having my aunt and uncle come over, since that was my stuff and I'd been threatening on videos several times that I was going to clean it up, and I kept saying I needed to, then to find out the family was coming over, it's like, all right, well, reason to actually put forth the effort to do it, right? So I did. And, granted, the room's not flawless by any means, and Gidget is very helpful. When she plays ball, she soaks her feet in the water afterwards as she's getting a drink, and then tracks little muddy prints everywhere. Not real helpful. But again, that stuff I do clean up periodically. But I got all the stuff out of the center of the room, and if somebody's coming in, it's still a decent place to sit, right? So earlier, my dad goes and sits in this other chair. So he won't get his, well, I don't know if it was the coat as the problem for sitting on the other chair, but his coat was on the recliner. The love seat is still broken from when his ass plopped on it and broke it, and he hasn't fixed it yet. That's been like a good 3 weeks anyway. So he isn't sitting on the couch, which doesn't have anything on it except for the pillows until the dogs knocked him on the floor. But today he went to the recliner that doesn't rock, right? The recliner that has his coat on it does rock. So it's this big ordeal to sit there because there's a dog bed in front of it. Dog bed moves pretty easy, but I think the bigger issue with the dog bed is because I brought it into the space after my mom got it for me from the rescue fundraiser yard sale thing that the local rescue in town had, right? My dogs love it, but their dog also loves it. So, yeah. So, today's drama was, let's move let's sit on the chair that has something in front of it, right? So when he goes to sit on it, he practically falls over the top of it anyway, which they're again adding into the plopping bullshit. He's like just trying to break all the furniture. And yeah, when I went back through there later, the dog bed is in the middle of the floor with the, the soft bed flipped off of it. Now, he was also the one that when there was the crap in the middle of the room and the dog bed was in front of the love seat, in front of the window, because that was a safe space for nobody to trip on it, then he started getting back there to just fuck with it, honestly. He was falling over everything, almost hurt his knee because he had to sit in this damn love seat that was like barricaded basically, but then he just starts flipping the dog bed up on its side because that was the one thing he could do that would get some kind of response, because I would have to put it back together. It was a pain in the fucking ass, right? So then when I get the rest of the shit out of the room, so that's not an issue, we're still going to the thing where we can, knock it all over the place because we're a freaking grown-ass man having a temper tantrum. I'm sick of these people, man. My brother sent me a message, and we got the go-to with the emotionless emoji or whatever, that's what he calls it. He sent me that, and I sent him one back because, of course, I'd been filled in at that point, and I knew it was chaotic before he left. When I asked how the kid was, she said, Papa hates me, and then moved on and, was doing something else, so she didn't have to be around him. But it's like a big part of the problems we have with the kid is the fact that she has to be around my parents at all, period. Which again, right now, I can't complain too much about that part, because since I have to live there, at least her being around helps my income a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be better for all of us when we get the fuck up out of here. And, those two can implode. Who cares? It's just, I feel pretty, I don't know. I've been thinking a lot lately about when it's starting to sprinkle a little bit more. When I go to leave, it's like if I don't have to come off of their phone plan. What I can do is just go get a whole new line and not tell them, and then just fall off the face of the planet, because I am about there. I am there. I'm ready to not have to connect with these people again. So ridiculous. Let's see where I'm at state-wise. Yeah, not bad. Junk. Oh, almost 7 miles. It's 8:18. So, do I just move back to... I want to go back to the car. I want to do another mile. I think I might just go back to the car and wrap it up, because it'll be dark soon. My lights are on anyway, so yeah. Outside lights. There's one around there somewhere. Yeah, well, you can see the light. There it is. They're on now. Fuck's sake. What a day. Yeah, I think I need to focus on getting my ass over here, like I used to. And I was thinking about that earlier too. I think the reason I quit skating as often as I was, 7 miles, that lined up exactly with my grandfather's hospital bullshit, and before he finally kicked the bucket. So yeah, largely his fault that I wasn't making it as much of a habit. And then I guess the leaky energy stuff, and so then it got to a point where when I was thinking about skating, it's like, I don't really want to skate. And then I'd let myself talk me out of it. And it's like, I have never regretted skating when I came out to skate. I've not once regretted it. So I think I need to push myself to get back into that habit, like I was doing before. Because I think that's a big part of the issue with the family bullshit. And yeah. Something about getting back into my body is helpful. I've talked a lot about that being a thing that I've struggled with. And, once I moved back in with my parents, and, there's that whole twin flame trigger piece where I started to realize that I didn't feel safe in my body, but I didn't really know why or where that was coming from. So it's been an effort to figure that out too. But yeah, skating has helped me resume that and, feel safe in my body again. So clearly I need to prioritize that more. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up so I can take my skates off and the gear, and also shut my app off. That's the bigger deal. Because I'd continue this while I was, taking my pads off, but if I do that, I'm going to forget to shut the app off, and I am done skating, so I would like to have that be accurate. So, as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.